The Michigan Football Report home edition on a Sunday, late afternoon, early evening. I am James Yoder, your host. You know what? I was going to go into the studio today to film, but decided, you guys didn't seem to mind the at-home video on a Saturday night. Saturday night games are kind of tougher for family commitments, etc. So I figured I'd just stick with it on Sunday and film from here as well. I'm going to go through my Overreaction Sunday, diving into what you guys think on social media, what's been said on the internet out there, and just my general kind of takes from what things are being said coming off that Michigan football 52-17 win last night versus Rutgers. So let's dive in and do some of these things. I want to ask you guys down in the comments. So as we get started, what was your biggest overreaction to yesterday's 52-17 win over Rutgers Saturday night on Big Ten Network? Mine was, I'm just thinking about it off the cuff, but second half dominance. Michigan's second half dominance over the last, really this entire season, but the last 4 weeks especially. 3 points in the last 16 quarters of, or not 16 quarters, I should say, 8 quarters of second half football in the last 4 games for this Wolverines team. They've been absolutely dominant. Yesterday, I believe it was 10 possessions for Rutgers, 3 interceptions, 6 3-and-outs, and 1 first down that they gave up. So just absolutely dominant performance. Jesse Minter, sign that guy to a long-term deal. I mean, hell, he has taken over with where Mike McDonald left off and just kind of taken Michigan's defense maybe to the next level, right? Is this defense better than last year? Tough to say that given the talent with Daxton Hill and David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson and hell, even Vincent Gray and others, right? But is this defense better? It actually could be, but we'll see in a few weeks, through 20 days from now, when Michigan travels to Columbus to face Ohio State. It is Michigan Football Overreaction Sunday. I want to ask you guys, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We are approaching 23,000 subscribers. Even though it's the 2022 season, they call the playoff the 2023 college football playoff. So it's either 23,000 subscribers, maybe a national championship. Good vibes out there. You never know. We are the most watched Michigan football program, most watched, most listened to, most consumed on any platform, TV, radio, podcast, YouTube, across the world. And thank you guys to everyone who has subscribed to us over the last 3.5 years. Really appreciate it. Let's talk about my game balls before I get into my 5 overreactions for yesterday's game. So I told you a little about them last night on the post-game show, but Blake Corum, 20 carries, 109 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns, which I think is really big in keeping him in this Heisman race. Gives him 16 rushing touchdowns now for the year, 17 total. Had a long of 43 yesterday, 5.5 yards per carry. Just what he needed. I mean, maybe one more touchdown or maybe that 30-yarder early on, gave him 130, 140 yards and 2 touchdowns would have been a little nicer, but I think it's what he needed to stay right at the top of that Heisman Trophy race. Donovan Edwards, 15 carries, which is exactly the number I told you on Thursday, which is really funny. I couldn't have drawn it up any better for a prediction. 109 yards, 7.3 yards per carry. No touchdowns running, but did have 3 catches, 52 yards, and 1 touchdown. A very acrobatic catch on a nice throw from J.J. McCarthy. He is one of my overreactions. I'll talk about him here in a second. And then how about Michael Barrett? Just a Michigan man through and through. Love Michael Barrett. He has been through it. He's played a lot of different roles. Special teams, defense, was benched, got his job back. Now he's been a starter for this entire season. Nikhil Green's out. Nevertheless, Barrett has filled in a really strong way, and he got 2 interceptions in the third quarter yesterday. He returned the second one for pick 6. So my big game balls, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, and Michael Barrett. Although the offensive line, the defensive line for this team probably should get the game ball pretty much every single week. All right, 5 overreactions for you guys. Diving into them, let's get it rolling. Number 1, Blake Corum can and I think will win the 2022 Heisman Trophy if and only if Michigan beats Ohio State 20 days from today. Michigan continues to need to give him touchdowns. I think if the touchdowns are there, I'm talking 23, 24, 25 touchdowns through these, you got next 3 games. You beat Ohio State, you're at the Big Ten championship game, you have 4 more games. If he gets 8 more touchdowns, all right, that gives him, whether receiving or rushing, that would give him 25 for the year. Add in his rushing totals. I don't know. I said he needs 750 over the last 5 games. He got 100 and 109 yesterday. So he still needs 641 yards over the last 4 games. That's not easy, but I think you can do it more than 150 per game. I think a win against Ohio State, and then you win the Big Ten championship game. And I think he will be your Heisman Trophy winner. Now, there's a chance he could still win it if they lose to Ohio State. Although I think C.J. Stroud would probably have a good game if Ohio State beat Michigan. I think the trophy would ultimately go to him. So I do think those are your top 2 leaders right now, Stroud and Blake Corum. But let me know what you guys think. Hendon Hooker, C.J. Stroud, Blake Corum, Caleb Williams, whoever else you think could have a chance to do it. Who will win the 2022 Heisman Trophy? Get active in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's going to be Blake Corum. I don't know what you guys think. Comment down below your 2022 Heisman Trophy winner. Number 2 overreaction is this, folks. This is a second half team, and a lot of people, myself included, you probably as well, have overreacted at the halftime scores. Penn State, right? Look, kind of struggled versus Michigan State in the first half. Definitely, we're down for the first time this year against Rutgers. And Michigan has continuously blown teams out, especially when you got in the Big Ten season, when you're not up 28-0, 38-0, 42-0 like you were around there in those first 3 games. In the Big Ten season, Michigan has absolutely dominated in the second half. Talk about some stats yesterday. I mean, just from a offensive perspective, 4 touchdowns in the third quarter, one of those being a pick 6 from the defense. 38-0, Michigan dominated the second half yesterday when they were down 17-14. They ended up winning 52-17, so 38-0 in the second half. Michigan's given up a combined 3 points in the last 4 games combined, and that was just a field goal against Penn State. Shutouts in 3 of the last 4 games in the second half, and just think about what that might mean for confidence level and approach for this team if you get into games against Ohio State, maybe Georgia, maybe Tennessee, TCU, whoever it is in the college football playoff. I think it will pay big-time dividends for this team. One other stat, I think I mentioned at the top of the show, 1 first down yesterday for Rutgers in the second half on 10 possessions. 1 first down, 10 possessions. That is pretty remarkable. All right, if you didn't see yet, Michigan, Nebraska, as I kind of alluded to, as you see a member of the Yoder family over my right shoulder coming down the staircase, Michigan, Nebraska will be a 3:30 Eastern game coming up on ABC on Saturday. She kind of comes across the front of the camera, cooking dinner here at the Yoder household. Illinois lost to Michigan State yesterday. If you didn't see that one, you probably did. So the outside chances of that game on November 19th or a night game are literally 0 at this point. But I'm expecting that one to be a 12 o'clock game, whether it be ABC or Fox, uncertain. But 3:30, which I'm pretty certain Michigan's first 3:30 game this year so far. It's either been big noon or a night game so far. 3 night games and 5 noon games, 6 noon games, is that what it is? For Michigan so far this year. 3:30 p.m. Eastern, ABC, Michigan hosting Nebraska coming up on Saturday. Number 3 overreaction is the red zone offense, more or less the red zone play calling, continues to be a real concern for this team, but it was better yesterday. Michigan had 7 trips to the red zone, 6 touchdowns, 1 Jake Moody field goal in the fourth quarter. The play calling still kind of stinks, right? Michigan's first 2 play drives, when they scored 14 points of the game, they needed 5 plays, 5 runs on the second one and 4 in the first one. So they needed 9 runs inside the 5-yard line to score those first 2 touchdowns. Had to go for it on 4th down both times. Very uninventive play calling, right? It was just basically put 8, 9 guys in the line and slam Blake Corum into the line 3 or 4 times. And then, J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum scored touchdowns, but you need to do better than that. It's not going to cut it against Ohio State. And this entire season, right? I was talking earlier today with friends, family, just having a little barbecue, etc. Just the importance of this Michigan football season, the back-to-back years of starting 8-0, losing to Michigan State, but going 12-1 in the regular season, winning the Big Ten, and losing to Georgia, and starting off this year 9-0, likely will be 11-0 going to the Ohio State game. This is a back-to-back seasons we haven't seen, at least in my adult lifetime, maybe my teenage lifetime until now. You've had plenty of good seasons. Like 03, 04 were good back-to-back years. But remember 03, Michigan lost to Oregon the third game of the season. 04, they lost to Notre Dame in the second game of the season. Being undefeated this late in the year, having a chance to win the Big Ten title, the national title, it just doesn't happen back-to-back years for Michigan, like it does for other schools. It's happened plenty of times for Penn State, Ohio State, Alabama, certainly Georgia. They're on the run, trying to go for back-to-back titles right now. But Michigan usually has one good season or something like that, like 2006, start off 11-0. 2007, thinking your top 5 team coming back, lose your first 2 games, App State, Oregon. 2003, win the Big Ten title. 2004, you lose your second or third game to Notre Dame. 1997, you win the national title. 1998, you lose your first 2 games to Syracuse, Notre Dame. 2016, you start off 8-0, go into the Ohio State game 2 versus 3. 2017, you lose 5 games. You think you're starting off good, and then you lose 5 games into the 2017 season. So it's a concern. Play calling stinks, but Michigan's got to get it figured out. You've got 2 more games of prep for Ohio State on November 26th. Number 3, and I'll quickly move through these. Donovan Edwards. What's the downside of giving him a shot at a starting wide receiver role for the rest of the season? We saw Robin Wilson was hurt. He didn't play yesterday. Jim Harbaugh says he'll be back. But are you telling me Donovan Edwards couldn't be Michigan's best wide receiver or second best wide receiver behind Ronnie Bell in this 2022 season? Why not put him on the field more? If you're going to still run him, that's fine. He'll be your starting running back next year, as long as Blake Corum goes pro, which we expect him to do so. Why not put Donovan Edwards out split as a wide receiver? It probably helps his NFL career or NFL stock going into the draft in a couple of years. I think it's something to consider. Get those guys in the field more. Donovan Edwards wide receiver the rest of the year. As long as he's ready to be the starting running back next season, I think it's something that Michigan really should consider. One other thing to consider from the offense, and this is an interesting one because I was a fanboy on him earlier in the year, is J.J. McCarthy the weakest link on this offense so far? Hell, even the weakest link on this team so far through 9 games for the number 3 team in the AP poll, maybe the number 2 team in the college football playoff. It's something to consider. Number 4 overreaction is I think Michigan will be ranked number 2 when the college football playoff polls come out on Tuesday. It's election night, but I will be live on Tuesday, 6:45 p.m. Eastern if you haven't subscribed yet. Will Ohio State be number 2? People think they probably should, right? They were number 2 last week. What's changed? The number 1 team, Tennessee, lost. Georgia, I think, will jump from 3 up to 1 in the CFP. But Ohio State's had back-to-back battles, right? They were in a tie ball game, in the second half with Northwestern, tied at halftime. They were losing with 9 minutes left against Penn State. So back-to-back road battles for Ohio State, where Michigan really, have they trailed? I think I saw something like Michigan's trailed only for 6 minutes or something like that the entire fourth quarter of this entire season. Ohio State much more than that. So something to consider. I think Michigan's going to get the benefit of the doubt for their dominance. Now the biggest winning percentage or winning margin, 30 points plus per game. Michigan is number 1 in the country in scoring margin so far this year. Ohio State now drops to number 2. I think Ohio State will drop from 2 down to 3. Michigan pops up from 5 up to 2. Georgia's number 1 come Tuesday night. Make sure you join us 6:45 Eastern for that live show. But let me know who will be ranked number 2 in the college football playoff top 25 on Tuesday. If it's Michigan, type M in the comments. If it is Ohio State, give me an O. I'm typing my M, but let me know what you guys think. Number 5, Michigan can, and I think will, win at Ohio State. We saw again yesterday, if you didn't see the game, it was 40, 50-mile-per-hour gusty winds, bad weather in Evanston. Ohio State looked soft again. C.J. Stroud looked soft and scared in the cold weather. He's a California boy, SoCal boy. As long as it's not like a 60-degree sunny day in Ohio State in 20 days from now, and Ohio State can just throw the ball over the field, maybe that gives them an advantage over Michigan. But if it's cold again, if it's anything bad weather, Michigan's offense travels. Their defense travels. They can go into any weather and perform. Ohio State's doesn't. I was thinking about this today. If Ryan Day took the job at Alabama, if Nick Saban retires after this year in a couple years, he probably has a lot of success, maybe more success than Ohio State. But when you get into mid to late November, when you've got cold weather, wind, etc., Ryan Day's offense just doesn't translate as well as Michigan's does. I think Michigan can and will win at Ohio State. Coleridge Stroud, you bum. I don't think he can cut it. I think he's going to go out as one of the great quarterbacks in Ohio State history, but maybe the quarterback that flipped the rivalry back in Michigan's favor. Lost 2 straight games. You think about it, C.J. Stroud, year 3 at Ohio State, has never beat Michigan as a backup or a starter. So if you are with me here, Michigan can beat Ohio State, will beat Ohio State 20 days from now. Give me a Bosa, beat Ohio State again, BOSA comment down below. That is your Overreaction Sunday. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I will be back in studio and office tomorrow with some Michigan football news and rumors, so stick with us. Subscribe to the channel. Until I see you guys tomorrow, go Blue.